I wanted to talk to you guys about this Lilith in Cancer transit that is going to be happening in 2022 and how impactful it can be in your personal life and in the world at large. I don't talk enough about Lilith's role in the female and the feminine sexual expression. And when we say feminine sexual expression, this is not biased to gender. Lilith's role as a sexual expression through femininity you find in both genders. But typically in a male's chart, typically Lilith is something that can kind of cripple a man, especially heterosexual, who isn't as tapped in to his femininity due to toxic patriarchy. But we have to first talk about the feminine sexuality and how Lilith in Cancer is connected to the woman, and the mother, right? Because of the Cancer influence, the concept of mothering, nurturing. And so Lilith in Cancer, there's different levels to it. So the first level is severe past lives of just complete darkness. And darkness is not to be something that is fearful, but just understand there's no boundaries when we look at darkness. There's nothing there. So it can be everything at the same time. So Lilith in Cancer, at its lowest level, is dealing with a deep feeling of feeling like an outcast from maybe even the feminine itself. Okay, the feminine nature, what it means to be feminine. This could also be feeling deep outcast from mother types of figures. A lot of Lilith in Cancer people may have been people who grew up in homes without their biological mother. This isn't always the case, and sometimes in these situations they may have also just grew up with their mother but didn't have as much of that mothering that they wanted, right? So when we look at it from a transiting point of view, a lot of people are going to be looking at their relationships to their mothers. And in the deeper, more chaotic level of Lilith, feeling like an outcast, this could be bringing up a lot of toxicity in motherhood. It could be attacking the mother, right? The shadows of the mother, oversighting mothers. This is a very interesting concept because mother herself, so whoever is a mother embodies mothering energy, also could feel that they are outcasted, like the world is leaving the mother behind. So these are some, I'm telling you, there's all kinds of crazy shit that can happen when there's no boundaries. And you might be like, well, how is that possible? Well, just even look at science, like how you can conceive it, you can have babies without actually being in a woman's body now. You can create babies in the lab. So that's just one example, but just thinking about how the darker energy of it is kind of like complete wildness. And when we're looking at Lilith in Cancer, we're looking at complete darkness, like the moon, no light, no life, just darkness, just nothingness. Okay, so that's one thing that I wanted to point out. The other thing is the concepts of sexuality, sensuality, when it comes to the moon, are very deep. They plague us both because we look in astrology at Mars and Venus for these concepts, but we always overlook the moon, and the moon is like that deep urge. It's a deep emotional need. So like when people like talk about how, people cheat for people can cheat without emotions. The moon part of us would definitely probably disagree, because as emotional beings, there usually is some sort of underlying, hidden, mysterious part of our emotions that are needed in order for us to feel sexually fulfilled, to feel connected. Because when we're looking at the moon and sex, it's about that very deep connection, that need to know about you, that need to feel you, that comes from the sensuality and the sexuality of the moon. I also think that this could also have been something that happens when Lilith goes through Venus signs like Libra or Taurus, but Lilith going through Cancer is the only other version of feminine energy, like just complete feminine energy that you're going to find, right? Yeah, there are other feminine zodiac signs, but Venus and moon ruled zodiac signs kind of take the cake. They kind of take the throne when it comes to, well, how is the feminine going to shift during this time? So what I want to say about this is looking at woman's sensuality or sexuality in a patriarchal space, Lilith coming through as a in the second level of Lilith, there is the victim like energy. It's like the one that isn't as chaotic as the dark one. It's just like victimized. So there may be people who are victimized at some level when it comes to their femininity. And this makes me think about the stories that are connected to women, like Eve, like Lilith, right? And women's sensuality being repressed sexuality, repressed expression of sexuality, or overly expressed expressions of sexuality. So thinking about the lure of femininity and sensuality, we find that with the moon. Now with Lilith, there is well, I feel like I've been outcasted from my sensuality or my femininity, okay? And we've kind of been seeing that kind of play itself up a little bit. Like a lot of women, a lot of these wars of like, should a woman be submissive or not? These wars, these talks about women needing to be less masculine. These are all very telling of a coming Lilith and Cancer transit. And I feel like it can take it to another level with women who know their sexual powers, evoking the lure of sensuality and sexuality from men and women, like period, just your sensual powers, and the women who are repressed from it. Okay, so these themes I think are going to happen at our lower and mid levels of Lilith and Cancer. These themes may be women who know their power, especially with no boundaries, right? Taking it to the ultimate extremes. You can judge her for good or bad, it don't matter. It's Lilith and Cancer. She don't care about your rules. Or the women who are repressed or who have been repressed, recognizing that they have been repressed, recognizing that they don't have the lore, or they want the lore, or they do have the lore and don't realize that they have the lore. It's a very different sensuality when you have a moon lore that knows its power and knows knows that it evokes things out of people and does it, and one that doesn't know its power, that's more naive to it and still evokes it out of people. Definitely check out my Patreon post that I have below about sexually repressed buds. I hate to pin myself to be one or the other, but to be honest, I probably would, up until recently, have been considered a more repressed sexual feminine. But things are changing, okay? Because Lilith and Cancer is here, baby. She came to save us all. So the female expression, the lure, is something that is going to come back. And I think that in the victim stage, you will find a lot of women fighting for maybe the right to not be sensual or to be sensual. But it doesn't matter. I think that with Lilith and Cancer, when she rises at her highest level, those who have not recognized that they have lost their power, right? Those who felt jaded, cynical, and skeptic, and have cynicism about femininity itself. And I would say that I could be one of those people. I've shown those signs. They're going to be healed by Lilith and Cancer. She will help to release them and free them at her highest level, freeing the femininity for everyone. Now, I would love to talk a little bit about Cancer and its connection to the homeland, nationalism, and the global effects of Lilith and Cancer, because there is something there. And I think that we're going to find that we are moving into a more maternal leadership. However, remember the levels. So the first level will be chaos. The second level will be victimhood. And then the final level will be feminine leadership. And the new sexy, which is, you know, kind of imagining itself within the feminine of the globe, just the feminine energy of the globe. So I think that we may find more female leaders showing up. I think that we are also going to find major shifts in what we prioritize as far as embodying a more nurturing way of being. But again, because we have tendencies and we have choices, right? There's certain things that people could fall more susceptible in, which is maybe the more lower level of completely disregarding a maternal sense and being even more orderly, more Capricorn like, more strict about things, until they finally realize that, you know, Pluto and Capricorn is not having that anymore. So there's a lot in the favor of Lilith and Cancer. It's just about our reactions, how it is that we choose to be. Do we choose to be completely rebellious and chaotic? Do we choose the victim mentality, or do we choose the higher sense of things, like the highest expression of the mother, with Lilith and Cancer? And there is no perfect decision. There's just the decision that you make. But I think that a lot of us do want to see more of that Lilith and Cancer expression. And no, at least for myself, we want to see that higher level of feminine leader moving through. And we want to see people being healed from their sensuality, their lore, right? So people who have not had the privilege of embodying that lore to be able to. And for the people who have the privilege to also be feminine teachers, to be feminine leaders of the power of the feminine. So I feel like I might have said feminine like 100 times in this one video. I don't want to go into details because that would be a little biased. So I really would love to hear from you. What do you think from that lower level of chaos, that level of victimhood, to that level of feminine leader? What are the details that you could see spilling out with Lilith and Cancer? Just comment down below. Thank you guys so much for your support on my Lilith videos, and I'll see you in the next one.